Hey guys, Amber from the Kinetic Canine, and I am making a quick video for you guys today on a little summary of your 90-day go home packet of what your life looks like immediately after taking your dog home from a board and train. So we go through your go home lesson. We talk about your obedience, how to operate the collar, how to refer to your tools, which is both your tools for your dog, but also your resources such as the group classes that we do during the warmer months, and then of course your go home PDF, and then your problem solving PDF, along with the access to your client page, which has some videos, a good recommendation for some books, and just everything you kind of need to be successful. Now your first week is going to look one of two ways. Number one is your dog is going to be in a honeymoon phase. So they're going to be on their best behavior. They're going to be riding the steam of the board and train that they just left with me. Number two is they're going to be an asshole. Now, I've held your dog accountable for however many weeks I had them. I'm sure we had some battles. I'm sure that we conquered some attitude problems. I'm sure that we had our struggles. Once we got through that, that's when the icing on the cake really took form of your dog really truly listening and complying and just making better choices overall. So you may see some attitude from that previous association of you're my mom or you're my dad or you're whatever, and this is how we previously did things, and I'm home from that hellion hole, and finally I can go back to acting the way that I did before. That doesn't mean that your dog didn't get trained. It means that dogs are incredibly smart and they're opportunistic, and they know what they can get away with and who they can get away with it with. So when they go to training, my job, my skills is to teach the dog correctly the tools, teach the dog correctly the obedience. That's where my skill set comes in, that I know what I'm doing to resolve aggression issues, reactivity issues, how to introduce the tools correctly, how to apply the tools correctly, timing, so on and so forth. So the dog goes home, I'm handing you the remote, so I'm handing you the training. So your dog understands the training. There might be an adjustment period where your dog's like, okay, this person moves differently and their tone is different than Amber's. But they know what you're, like, dogs are so smart. They know what you're asking. And it doesn't take rocket science for them to figure it out. They're just gonna pretend like, number one, they don't hear you, or number two, they're home and they're just like. So let's get into the unfun conversation. Your dog goes home. No free roam. I'm sorry. At least 90 days. What your day is gonna look like is you're gonna do a mock board and train. So the dog is in the crate. You let them out in the morning. You give them their breakfast and let them take a couple, maybe half an hour to digest while you get ready for your day. Okay? No rushing thresholds. And by thresholds, I mean the crate, the front door, in and out of the car. Anything that is a doorway, a threshold, a exit, a entrance to an outside space. And I don't just mean like outside, I mean like including their crate. No rushing out, being respectful. Your dog moves with you, goes to place. So place is your, like when your dog's not going to be in a crate, they're going to be actively on place. That's kind of where you just kind of put them, right? But you can take them out of the crate and do an experience. And by an experience, I mean like a mock training session. Like maybe you do some heel in the driveway. Maybe you put them on place and you do some reps where you knock on the door. Maybe you set up some situations in the past where they would blow you off. You have to be prepared for what's coming. You have to be 2 steps ahead. You can't just say, okay, my dog came home from training, let me put him on place, and then invite over a bunch of guests. Because let's say even if your dog rocks it, if they didn't, or there was a situation, you're not prepared to handle that situation because you're immediately jumping headfirst into a real life scenario. We set up mock situations before we take your dog off property. So we put dogs behind fences. We let them rush out of the gate and have a learning experience. We let them pull on the leash and have a learning experience. We let them try to run away and panic or maybe bite or whatever the behavior is that we don't want them to do. We set it up safely first and practice through it so we know what to expect. And I get it. Nobody wants to take their dog home and be like, well, shit, my dog's in a crate and now my dog's on place, and then the dog goes for a walk and it has maybe like a little bit of free time. That's boring, and it's not what I signed up for when I got a dog. And that's fine. Some dogs, that's long term, and if that's not what you signed up for, then that's a conversation only you can have with yourself. But it, in theory, is not forever. You're coasting on my steam, and you need to make your own energy here, if that makes sense. So think of it like when we do a board and train, I have multiple dogs and I have boarding dogs. They're not just free roaming. They come out, they have an experience, and by experience I mean a training session, and then they go back in their crate where they absorb it. They think back on it. And a lot of times you'll see dogs come out for the next training session and it's like, wow, where'd you learn all this stuff? Like, you really kind of like thought on that, didn't you? Now, if I was to let the dog, like it's my dog, free roam the house after that, my learning experience, my training session, it's not going to have a lot of impact, I guess the word would be, because now the dog's having all these little micro experiences through the house. Like maybe they're jumping on the couch, or maybe they're pacing the window, or maybe they're barking at the door. Like, that training session is in the past. They've absorbed on very little because now there's just more going on. Dogs live in the moment. There's more going on. So you have to kind of let them soak, you have to let them marinate in what they just learned, or what they've just learned with you, how to respond to you. You don't want to make a shit sandwich of experiences. You don't want to like crate experience crate, or crate place crate, or crate place experience place. Crate. Whatever. You want to keep it very simple, and you want to limit the dog's movement. Free roam is an extremely powerful reward to the dog. Being up your ass and being with you all the time is an incredibly powerful reward to the dog. And you have to have the mentality when they're coming home of, you don't deserve this right now. Like, there's a reason I just hauled your ass off to boot camp. Like, you don't deserve this right now. And I want to have a better life with you with more freedoms in the future. So like, we're both going to have to grit our teeth and get through this so that we can fix our relationship, so that we can have the life that we both want. Okay? So that's why I'm so stuck up on that crate, no free movement. The dog's out, they're on place, they're in command, they're in a down. They go for a structured walk. They're not sniffing, they're not texting and driving. It's really a miserable way to live in the beginning, but the payoff in the long term is worth it. You have to get the attitude from your dog under control, and you have to get into a routine that's familiar. They really, really enjoy the routine. Even though they're not doing a whole lot through their day, just decompressing and working, think about the end of the board and train. They're out hiking, they're off leash, they're having fun, they're out with play groups. Like, that's the goal. So you have to give up the bed. You have to give up the couch. You have to give up pacing and whining at the door and barking at the FedEx guy and sleeping outside of your crate at night and being allowed to destroy shit. You have to give up those things to have a better, more free life. And your owner is going to hell of a lot love you more because you're no longer a dick. So 30 days, 60 days, 90 days goes by. We're living the life of a mock board and train. Then what? Okay, then we can start adding certain things back. We can say, now you're gonna get like a couple hours a day where you're out of command, and I'm gonna see what choices that you make. And remember, anytime the dog is out of the crate, your tools are on. Obviously remember to charge them, obviously remember to rotate them so you don't get contact sores, but your tools are on. The only time the tools aren't on is when they're in the crate. And the reason for that is right now you need a way to hold them accountable every single time. If you don't want the tools on your dog and you don't want to have to supervise and hold your dog accountable, then you need to hang up your owner cap, hang up your leadership cap, and put them in the crate. The crate should be somewhere quiet, out of foot traffic, and preferably out of your bedroom, because nobody likes to listen to dogs in crates at night, like move around and stuff, because like I'm all about the dog getting a good night's sleep and you getting a good night's sleep. So if that works for your house, I know that a lot of people have small apartments or their house setup is different, but do the best you can to keep it quiet, safe, out of foot traffic, and preferably out of your bedroom. But so think about it like that. Anytime you're around your dog, it's your responsibility to hold them accountable. And if you don't want that responsibility right then, or you can't, because let's say you have something going on with the kids, or somebody's over, or whatever the situation is, where in that moment you can't be supervising your dog and you can't hold them accountable, like I said, you need to hang up that role and you need to put them away. Again, not forever, but we gotta change some mindsets here. We gotta change some mindsets in the dog and you, like I've already said. So as you start adding back freedoms, maybe you invite them on the couch. They don't get on the couch. Everything is permission based. Permission to leave the crate, permission to go out the door, permission to go in the car, permission to go up on the couch if they get to that point after a couple months, permission to leave their obedience commands, permission to leave you when out on a hiking trail. Everything is permission based, and that's what works the best. So those small details, you're not just correcting reactivity, you're not just correcting barking, you're not just correcting pulling. Those small day-to-day relationship details is what makes the training. So let's say you start to give your dog more freedoms and you start to notice some old behaviors start to kind of slip back. Let's take a step back and say, okay, can my dog handle this much freedom this soon? Do I need to rein it back? Did I add too much back in too quickly? The end goal is to go back kind of to the lifestyle you had if your dog can handle it, but with a dog who does not have an attitude and with a dog that respects you and a relationship that's healthy. So I'm going to say, in summary to this little talk, I'm going to say, don't make a shit sandwich and really look at the end goal. I know it sucks. Believe me, I know it sucks. It's no fun. But anything worth having is never easy. You spent a lot of money on this program, and I truly care about you and your dog. I've put a lot of work in for you and your dog, and I just want to see you guys succeed. But you have to remember that after the dog leaves me, once the training is handed over, I have so much support put in place for you guys, but at the end of the day, it's up to you. How bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? Let me know if you guys need anything.